And good morning to everyone. Welcome to the Orange Blossom Social. I am your humble correspondent, Bobby Randall, and what an audience we have today as they storm the place, our ever, always perspiring audience. Not sure that was I was close. Good morning, everyone. We are all here. Captain Kurt up in the booth, and the producer of the show, the Apostle Paul, and sidekick, and ever so ridiculous in his behavior. Say hello to Fast Eddie, everyone.
Good morning, good morning.
And Fast Eddie is here. A wonderful morning this morning. I have a very special guest out here in just a little bit. And two great things about our guest. One, today is his birthday, and he got stuck to bring donuts on his own birthday, which is horrible. So we may have to take up a collection. But George Trillinger is here.
He was actually here.
Do what?
He was here before us.
He was here before all of us.
And he had candles in him, and he was singing to himself.
Yeah.
It was really sad.
One thing, George, a lonely boy, that's what that fella is. Anyway, George will be out here in just a little bit. We'll tell you a little bit what's going on at the Opry, and what a great weekend we had, Eddie. The Lovin' Spoonful were awesome.
Yes, yeah, they were great.
They were great. The coolest thing, many cool things. I'll discuss some of it. Is how small the entertainment world is. These guys get here, and I think the Lovin' Spoonful. I don't know anybody in that band, right? I don't know anybody. Well, I come to find out I do, and then they know somebody that I know, and the next thing you know, I'm on the phone with George Trillinger because they know George, and it was one thing after another. And I always say that about the Orange Blossom Opry Hall. One of the coolest things about my job is eventually somebody I have worked with or somebody I know or somebody that I've crossed paths with will walk in that door, in the back door. And it's one of the most awesome things. They were awesome. And then one of the dudes in the band, Jeff, was actually out singing lead for a band called Badfinger, and he just sprung it on us. I said, man, no matter what, let's do it. And we went out with no rehearsal. It actually, by the end of the song, if you listen, the song kind of takes off good. And then finally, my boys, we all start catching on and remembering the harmonies. By the end of the song, it was really good. But what a bunch of awesome guys they were. They're also a friend of mine. I played in Charlie Rich's band for a while with a guy named Chad Watson, and they know Chad, so it was just kind of who knows who and who knows what. But it was an awesome weekend with the Lovin' Spoonful, and they sent a really nice letter to all of the crew and all of the staff here at the Orange Blossom Opry. That was one of the nicest places they played. Everybody was great. Everybody was wonderful. It was just a wonderful evening. So thanks to those boys, I'm sure they will be back. And Fast Eddie, how was your weekend?
Good.
What did you do for Mother's Day?
We went out to eat. And I sent my daughters all the Happy Mother's Day notices.
Are your daughters mothers?
Yes.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just checking.
Yeah.
I did nothing. You know what I did? I grilled burgers for my wife and myself. We sat out in the barn, made 2 hamburgers, and sat out there in the barn, and that was Mother's Day for me. I did talk to my mother, though, and wish her a happy birthday. So we'll talk about some of the shows coming up here. That's what we do. But first, we always have, oh, geez, Eddie. That's the best you could come up with?
Well, yeah, actually, if I'd have known George was here, I'd have brought George's, because really, to be totally honest with you, George is one of my favorite shows that come to this place.
He's definitely one of the best shows.
But on this one here, what I've done is, since we started this, I've never brought the same artist twice. So I looked at this and go, someday I got to take David Allan Coe in there, because it was a one-time show and it was unique, it was different, but it is it's rare for David to sign anything. So I got his autographed album on there.
Oh, that's
and
pretty
it was
cool.
Yeah. So that was pretty much what we can.
Do you know in his rider? I know Dak.
Yeah.
Dak. Me and Dak were like that. In his rider, I have to advance all the dates. And so on Mondays and Tuesdays, every week, I spend my day chasing down these guys, whoever's coming next weekend, and talk to them. What can I get for you? What can we do? What do you want to eat? How many people are going to be here with the band? Instruments? What do you got to do? Blah, 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 all that. And right in David Allan Coe's rider, it says, do not make eye contact with David or try to start a conversation with him.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
I was really shocked that that album got signed. I was really shocked, but I was blessed
Well, you know,
that it happened
I
because I knew
worked-
how rare it was.
I worked with him, and that's the truth. The band Confederate Railroad, before they got their record deal, they were David Allan Coe's band. So afterwards, many dates, and Larry was probably at a bunch of them with us. He used to go to a bunch of dates with us. We would play with David Allan Coe, and many times found myself back in David Allan Coe. And he was, I heard all these nightmare stories, and man, they're out there. There's bunches of them. But that dude, for some reason, was always nice to me. And I played steel for him, and I'd sit right up there by him, and you know, his show's kind of a, you know, you don't know what's happening because he just takes off, you know. Let's play this and that and this, but he'd always give me play one for me, Bobby, and then he'd sit there and just look at me, and I think, I don't know if this guy's going to gut me and hang me on the wall or what, but you know what, he was always nice to me. So
That's great.
I can't really, even after I left the band, I went to see him one time. So I can't say anything, I don't like to say anything bad about anybody anyway, but I will tell you this, and I got in trouble for this, but what the heck. The song Tennessee Whiskey, we all know the song Tennessee Whiskey. Here's an interesting story. I was talking to Miller, Mark Miller, who's the lead singer in Sawyer Brown. We spent all day together and just talk, blah, blah. We were talking about when we first came to town, the early days when we came to town. I'll tie these two stories together in just a second. But we were talking about what we did because we both used to do demo work. I as guitar. So that's how I found Leona. Bill Shore and David Wills were writing songs, and they would hire a band to come in and demo your songs. I got hired. I was a kind of a session guitar player. That's how I found Leona. But Mark Miller told me the first song that he sang a demo on was for Linda Hargrove and Dean Dillon. Do you know what song that would be, Eddie?
Tennessee Whiskey?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. He sang. I said, surely you have a copy of that, which goes to my favorite version of Tennessee Whiskey. My personal is David Allan Coe's.
Wow.
Because it's really good. George had the first record out on it. I was never, ever, I know you can stone me if you want because everybody goes crazy, but I was never a fan of Stapleton. I'm a fan of Stapleton, but not a fan of him. That song never did anything for me when he was, do it, Eddie, you can do it. Come on,
Yeah.
let her rip.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I'm a Possum fan, so I would have to lean to George's.
Yes.
But so I don't, I wasn't a big fan of Templeton's
No,
version
that's
either.
just some guy sings. So.
It's hard to,
You know, possum only live about 3 years.
yeah.
Oh, not that kind of
Oh,
possum.
this Possum, he showed and didn't show. I love George Jones, man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that was my favorite version. I like the more traditional style, which is the way Dean and Linda wrote that song. They wrote it, that way. All right. Let's move on. Let's cover a couple shows so we can get our buddy out here. This weekend, coming to the Orange Blossom Opry, is the music of Seals and Crofts, and of course, it's not Seals and Crofts, but what's his name? Brady Seals will be here. And Brady's been around the music business kind of like me, just can't keep a job. He's here, he's there, he's over there. But he is a Seals, and I saw on their set list they're going to do I Really Love to See You Tonight by England Dan and John Ford Coley.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why they would do that song, Eddie?
Yes, Dan Seals.
And-
Yeah. And
yeah,
he was England Dan.
He was.
Yes.
He was England Dan, and so they're going to do some of that, and then the Crofts girl is actually George. What was the Croft guy's first name? I can't remember. Yeah, I know what. Nash Crofts? I don't know.
Dash.
Is that it, Eddie? I don't
Yes.
know. It is.
Yeah.
It's his daughter that's going to be here, so it'll be interesting. And the world, and I say world, ladies and gentlemen, world famous. We are world famous. The world famous Orange Blossom Opry Band will be backing them up. The only reason I could say that is we have fans in Denmark. We have fans in London.
Australia.
And Australia, but mostly just old buddies of mine. The old saxophone player for Reeve McIntyre lives in London. My old high school buddy that's a singer lives in Denmark. And there's a guy, you ever go to Australia, George? You ever get over that way? Never have. There's a guy in Australia that's, his name is John Laws. John Laws is like the Dick Clark of Australia. So he's Mr. Show Business and does all the shows. And when we were over there, I became friends with his son, Sam. But John still he's getting up in the years over there. He's about 90, but they watched the show too. So Australia, first thing I did in Australia, I was so sucked in, George. Everybody tells you that the water goes down the toilet the other direction in Australia because you're on the other side of the equator. That's not true. That's a lie. Because I got off the airport and the plane, I went, we were on a private jet, and I went straight into the airport and flushed the toilet and went. Those bastards lied to me again, George. It goes down the same way. It doesn't.
How long were you in Australia?
We were there about a week. We went over there and did a tour. We had a record out. We had 2 records out over there. I was in this little band at that time called the Dallas County Line, and our first record was called Honk If You Want a Honky Tonk, a song written by Kix Brooks. And we had a big record over there in Australia, and this dude that was just getting started, probably never amount to anything, but went out there, our opening act, with his guitar. I forgot his name, Urban, something like that. Keith Urban, yeah, that was his name. He was out there opening for us, so that's a while back. But Australia was awesome. Anyway, so let me get to a couple other things. So and George, we'll get George up here in a second. I could say all this now because he's a humble guy and won't let me do this when I get up here. But George, I think George has got one of the best shows that come here, because if there's something you don't like about his show, just hang on for about 2 minutes, because it'll change and be something else in another 2 minutes, because he comes out and he does Hank Williams, the old Hank Williams, the old stuff, the cool stuff, and then if that doesn't cover it, so he starts over here and we end with the Rolling Stones. And everything in between there. And George, I say this all the time. You and Tim have the best blues brothers ever. They're awesome. I mean, you guys. How did that happen? Did you just?
Totally by accident.
Yeah, just.
Totally. I watched. I was in the Legend show for many years.
Yeah.
And I watched a lot of Blues Brothers teams from the wings, from backstage.
Yeah.
And I never dreamed. And you know how show business is. The show has to go on.
Yeah.
I booked Tim and his partner at a gig at the Ritz-Carlton down in Fort Myers. And a couple days before the show, Tim called me and said, my partner can't make it. I don't know what we're going to do. And I said, well, I was snowed in Chicago on a Fab Four show.
Yeah.
And I said, if I can get home, I know what I'm going to do. And I moved all the furniture out of my living room, put on the Blues Brothers movie, and I learned how to do Elwood in about 3 days.
Wow, it's awesome. Well, you could probably be anyone. Let me grab a couple more shows, and Joe, I got to get George up here because he's an interesting cat. The month of June is a lot of tribute acts going on in the month of June. As a matter of fact, all tribute acts. We're going to start off on the first, which is already sold out. Carole King. Don't know much about her. I mean, I know about Carole King. Did I tell you this, Eddie? You know, she wrote all those songs when she was 16.
Will you still love me tomorrow?
Yeah.
Early one.
Yeah, she was, I think, smarter at 16 than you are right now.
Probably.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But no, she wrote a lot of amazing things. She'll be here on the first, and then we've already gone over this. This is not the Irish Rovers.
Yeah.
This is Van Morrison, right?
Correct. It's a Van Morrison tribute.
Brown Eyed Girl. That's when you're a guitar player and you get a guitar. One of the first things you learn depends on who you are. If you're a country guy, you learn Wildwood Flower and you learn Freight Train. If you're a rock and roll guy, you try to learn the intro to Stairway to Heaven, but somewhere you got to learn that intro or that solo to Brown Eyed Girl. Can you play that on the guitar? Eddie?
No.
You can't?
No, but I can sing it though. Yeah.
I just assumed you didn't. But
Oh no, I can tear that up.
just let her rip one time
Yeah.
though. Just, hey, where we go. Come on, Eddie.
Hey, where we go.
That's enough. Okay, awesome. A round of applause for Eddie, everybody. Just kidding. All right, and then Simon and Garfunkel. Simon and that guy, they will be here on the 15th of June, y'all, and they will. That's another dude, Paul Simon. Those guys had to be brilliant because at 16, I think Paul Simon was 20 years old when he wrote Bridge Over Troubled Water, and even more complicated, The Boxer, at 20 years old. So I don't know. I was at 20 years old. I was writing my mom on military stationery. Dear Mom, I want to come home. So Simon and Garfunkel will be here on the 15th. A Meatloaf tribute. Now that I'm kind of excited about because I kind of dig the music there. That's on the 22nd. And on the 29th, we have John Denver, and it could be probably, I don't know, it's hard to say. Some of these cats that they have are awesome. They have, when I first came here, I don't know what the deal is. They'd have a couple of those tribute bands, and they were okay. But that's not the case anymore.
Oh, they're
Yeah,
great.
they must have found
Yeah.
a new pool or something, because what these guys are like knocking it out of the park
Yeah.
that are coming here. They're awesome. I would expect nothing less of these people. I think they're getting them out of Vegas from someplace, but they've really stepped up the what am I trying to say?
Yeah, tribute talent.
Tribute. They've really stepped it up here at the Orange Blossom Opry, and it shows because a lot of those shows are already sold out. I don't have the ticket count in front of me, but if you're interested, I suppose if he isn't, John Denver will sell out, and that's our buddy Carl Bennett. So I want to talk to you just real quick. We do this thing called the Summer Series, and I'll have this down by next thing. But our summer series is brought to you by, I can't do this. Well, you guys are going to have to write this out.
Romac Building Supply.
And here's Kurt. Here's Captain Kurt with a commercial for Romac. Go.
Yeah, you gotta give me.
You don't have
That's
a
not
microphone.
Not going to happen.
Romac Building Supply and Springer Mountain Farms.
Yeah, both of those are. And
Yes.
we'll do a little.
We appreciate their help.
Is this thing on? Hey,
Boy, what are we?
We had to wake him up.
What's in that? What was that movie that was about the band, George? The band. Yeah, this is Spinal Tap TV show. That's what this is. Welcome to Spinal Tap. Anyway, our summer series is awesome. Doug Stone will be here, everybody. I'll be better and I'm off in a pine box, and I believe that's kind of this is his Adios Amigos tour, because I think he's going to the house after this, and so now. I'm kind of mixed up here because I think on the 10th, can you put that thing up
Yeah,
there?
the 10th is Daryl Worley.
Yeah, because my book's all jacked up here. So the 10th is Daryl Worley, and what an awesome guy he is. And, when I first heard that guy sing, I thought, man, well, that's a weird voice. But he's really got a cool voice. I don't have the dates because they've changed since my book. I have here on the 10th, I'm showing Marilyn Manson.
No,
I don't
it's
think
Daryl
that's-
Worley.
Oh, Daryl, okay.
And then the Ultimate Elvis on the 16th, Cody.
Yeah, Cody, and the reason Cody comes on the 16th of August is because it's the 16th of August. Is because isn't that Elvis's birthday?
No, it's the day he passed.
Oh, it's the day he died.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was Don McLean, the day the music died.
and
Yeah.
he'll be here for two
Wrong.
shows.
Don McLean will be
Bobby
here?
took the wrong meds this morning.
I did.
Yep.
Okay. No, Cody will be here on the 16th, and that's the day that
Two shows.
Elvis
Yep.
died. 2 shows of Elvis. Yeah, he's awesome, by the way.
John Barry on the 17th.
The 16th will be sold out. If you want tickets for that, you better hurry because they'll be sold out. John Barry's on the 17th.
Yes.
And a great guy he is. Who's on the 24th, Eddie?
I don't have that information.
Oh, see, there
Yeah.
we go. Caught with your
I don't
britches
know.
down. Yeah.
Wade
Oh,
Hayes.
Wade Hayes is
Oh, there we
wrapping
go.
it up.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah. And Wade is Wade's a great guy. Wade Hayes moved to town. Everybody that moved to town has done something when they first moved to town. Do you know what Wade did besides being a construction worker? Do you know who he worked for? Eddie?
No.
You don't? He played guitar for Johnny Lee for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's got some stories, war stories. Anyway, and it's our summer series, and that'll take place in August. And in August around here, it's hot as hell. So there's no reason to be outside. Just come here and join us at the Orange Blossom Opry. Come inside where it's air conditioned and nice and cool, and we'll play some hot music for you. And then October, I don't know what's going on, but we start our Rocktoberfest in October. And then the next thing you know, Eddie, we're making Christmas songs.
Right, but you missed the Friday Night Live with special guest.
Oh, you know what? Guys, on the
ready for
on the
this?
26th of this month, our Friday night, 28th. 28th. It's our last Friday Night Live before VACATION. Who had that song, Eddie? We're gonna have a
The Go-Go's.
Was he right?
I am
George
right.
George
I'm
is here to
right.
check
Yeah.
it. We do this thing called Friday Night Live, and our guest that day will be Ty Love. Ty Love is awesome. Let me tell
We
you.
should have Eddie announce it though.
Oh, you want Eddie to announce
Yes.
Ty Love? Okay, Eddie, give us your best Ty Love. Ready, go. And now,
Ty Love.
Eddie, that sucked. Oh, you
No,
gotta
no.
give it some more.
I
And
told
now,
him he
ladies and-
needs to walk out on that stage like Johnny Cash says, "Hi, I'm Ty Love. The audience, the ladies will lose their mind. They're already losing their mind with him. But he needs me as that announcer, I'll guarantee it.
All right, without a
I'm going to
doubt.
sell some merch for him or something.
Yeah, yeah. Are you, so if he comes big, are you going to finally get the hell out of here?
I've already got T-shirt ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, let me tell you something about Ty Love, y'all. I've been working in the studio with guys. I don't know. 40 years I've been doing this, and it's always a whole different thing when you go in the studio, because now it's kind of like you're under a microscope. I mean, and it's really, really a whole different thing, because most anybody can come out here on stage and sing "You Are My Sunshine" or whatever. But now when you're in the studio recording, it's a whole different ball game. And and so he gets in there, and I knew that his voice, you can tell just by working with somebody a little bit if their voice is how it's going to record, just because I've done it so many times. He went in there and he sang the first song 3 times, and I went, that's it. He's done. You know, most people are just getting warmed up. We took most of the first take and a couple pieces of the third take and jumbled a couple things together there that you do in the studio. But that guy's awesome in the studio, because he walks in there and it just hits his pitch is perfect, and he knows how to sing in the studio, which is a whole different thing. So I'm really excited. And we did all 3 of his songs. One that I hate, but it's probably it's the bro country song. You know, he said these other 2 songs are really great, but the lyrics are awesome. One song that he wrote is about I don't know if it's a song that he knew personally, but he wrote this song called "Kids Raising Kids," and it's so well written, it'll really choke you up. It's about, and I don't know if that's what happened to him, because that's kind of what the story is, you know, kids raising kids, and then it goes on to. Do you know the story, Mike? It was his mom and dad were there.
It's
You're on. You're there.
It's on.
yeah, it's written about his mother and father.
So was that? I figured that was about
Yes.
that.
It
Yeah.
was written about them, and last week was the first time he'd written it, hadn't told them about it. When he sang it for you in the studio last
Yeah.
week was the first time they had ever heard it.
Oh, yeah.
And as they sat there realizing, listening to the lyrics, this is about us. I mean, brought them both to tears. Watching them was
Man, you should've filmed
really
that.
emotional watching them.
And his
'Cause
watching.
they're a couple of nice folks.
Yeah,
So.
and watching his dad cry is kind of something, because he's
Big
He's
dude.
like 6'9"
Yeah.
and about 300 pounds and
Yeah.
looks like a gorilla. Not a gorilla. He's a handsome guy, but he's a big old football coach, right?
Yes, he is.
And anyway, so he's got some depth in his writing. He's not this same old crazy stuff. And a great singer. As you know, we sent his version of "Sacred Love." I sent it to Terry McBride from McBride and the Ride, and Terry wrote back and went, "Holy crap, that's so good." So I'm really excited about Ty Love. Just 20 years old and a good boy on top of everything else. He's a good kid. So he'll be here on the 28th, everybody. That's our last Friday Night Live before break.
Before we move on, I wasn't ready. Eddie, one more time, please.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Ty Love. Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
Thank you.
As good as
But-
he is, Bobby, when he competed in the showcase, that was the first time he had ever played with a band.
Yeah, I knew that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the kid's just been playing, you know, sports clubs and all that stuff around town. And obviously, his sister, he told me the story, was his sister was actually the singer. She sang, and then she kind of gave it up and got away from it a little bit, and then he picked it up and started playing guitar and
And they're
singing.
just a real nice family.
Oh, no,
they're
they're
really,
good.
really, really great people.
Well, if you got a dad that's 6'9" and going
Yeah.
about 280, you're not really going to step on a line
Football
much, you know,
coach, yeah.
'cause your dad'll just.
You're underestimating him. He's 330. He had been 380 when he was
Oh,
playing.
man.
He's 330.
330
Yeah.
now.
Did
Coming
he
down.
play? Where did he play ball?
I
I think he
based on his gear, I'd say for Georgia.
That's what I was going to say. I think
Yeah.
he played ball for Georgia. All right.
But we do got to talk about the best of the
Dugat.
tribute shows.
We do got.
Oh, we have to talk about
What part
the
of West
best.
Virginia are you from?
No,
Eddie?
West Virginia. Well, Pennsylvania's close to West Virginia, but we got to talk about 525, the George Trillinger show.
We
That-
did.
that's
Well, I'm
gonna
gonna
be-
get it- Well, I'm going to get him.
That's
up
the
here.
ultimate tribute show, ladies and gentlemen. A must see.
What
And
are
I-
you talking about, Eddie? You've lost
We're-
me.
we skipped over that show when we
Who?
were talking about all the tributes. George Trillinger show on
Well, he's going to
525.
come up here and
yeah.
talk about
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We
Eddie, you're the one on meds,
yeah, I'm
and probably not.
Well,
that
go.
Jonah. It was a sugar rush. Blame it on George.
George, come on up here. We'll get George up here. George Trillinger, everybody. Come
Yeah.
on. Woo. Yeah. So I got to just say a quick thing about George, and then we'll do some chat. When I came to the Orange Blossom Opry, I had not heard of George. I was not in the same we didn't run in the same circles, and for a long time, I'll just use the word they were pronouncing your name wrong, and I said, and as I got to know George better, I thought he's the kind of guy. If you're around this guy for 5 minutes, it's like you've known him your whole life. Then we start talking, and we've kind of grown up in different areas, but the same business. But one of the greatest guys in show business.
Thank you.
Good morning, George. Thank you for being here, and
It's
thank you for bringing
wonderful to
donuts.
be here with everybody back at the Orange Blossom Opry.
Yeah, now tell me about when the first time you set foot on the stage here. You got to get a little closer
When-
to your mic.
The
There you
first time, and I love Neil, and Neil does a great job with
Yeah.
with the Thursday night showcase.
Yeah.
I had come from I'd lived in Las Vegas and performed there for like 26 years, 27 years, and I came to DeLand, Florida, where they roll up the sidewalks at 8 o'clock, right? You know, and it's just a whole different world living out here.
Yeah.
So I was looking for gigs and looking to stay home and gig around Florida, and I came here on a showcase night.
When they
Heard
had
about
Thursday
it?
night, yeah.
When a little lady named Estelle was here,
Yeah.
and after that show, it just goes to show you good things can happen, you know, when you just show up and do your thing. And I was, you know, I know this come as a shock to you, but I did a song, and then I started messing with people in the audience, and
Yeah.
I told a joke, and I did Ed Sullivan, I did an impression, yeah, fine, extra, fine. and they said, hey, you know, you should really do your own show. And I've been so lucky, thank you, Roger and Heather and all the great people here, to do a couple of shows a year ever since.
Well, let's back up a little bit because so you went to Vegas. You're not from Vegas, right? You said, okay, I want to be in show business, or I can do this. You got to have, you know. I moved to Nashville because I said I can play and I can sing, and I'm going to Nashville. Why'd you go to Vegas? What was
Believe it or not, I am in my 51st year in entertainment, and I grew up in Southern California, and I worked on the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland.
Oh, yeah.
Which was like being a stand-up comedian, and you did about 25 trips a day and
Yeah.
telling the same jokes. But I went to Las Vegas. I answered an ad in the newspaper, or the Recycler, and like the penny saver, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I came to Las Vegas for a 3-week job, and that 3-week job lasted 27 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it was
Yeah.
fun, and it's still going today. It was funny when we first opened in Las Vegas. The only other impersonators, the tribute business wasn't like it. There was no tribute business. They had impersonators in Las Vegas, but they were all female impersonators. There was a show called Boylesque and a show called Lacage, and it was just
Eddie, you did one of those shows, didn't you?
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you were great. I love the Bette Midler number when you did that. But
There's pictures somewhere on the internet.
Okay, so and let me ask you this, because that really amazes me. I can't do anybody. You know, there's people that can. And how did you say, okay, I can? You know what? I'm gonna. So you're at this show Legends that you created, and you're gonna do. Well, I can do this guy. Well, I think I could do this guy. I can't do anything.
Well, when I first started out, I was a class clown in school. You know, I was the guy that always did the funny stuff and would always disrupt the class. But I was smart, and I always maintained a 3.0 grade average, and so I didn't get in that much trouble being funny. But I used to impersonate people who weren't famous, like my teachers.
Oh,
I could
really?
impersonate, and the teacher would step out, and then I would stand
Yeah,
up and
that's funny,
be
yeah.
the teacher, or do funny stuff, you know, like. And then the teacher would come back in, the class is cracking up, and nobody would let on. You know?
Yeah.
So I always wanted to I've been in a rock and roll band like you
Yeah.
since I was 12 years old. My dad bought an electric guitar at Thrifty Drugstore for
Yeah.
$28, an old Teisco, right off the rack.
Yeah.
And I played that for a long time. And then, you know, in those days, it's totally different today. You talk about the record business, the music business is totally different. Where I grew up in Orange County, you could drive through a housing tract on a Saturday or a Sunday with your window down, and you would hear, wouldn't be very long, you would hear, they call them garage bands.
Yeah.
All be together rehearsing, and then we did the Battle of the Bands, and we did talent shows, and
Yep.
you know, just worked over, and then that led to playing dances and clubs, and
Yep.
my dad was an appliance repairman, so we had this big 65 Chevy window van with a crank liftgate. And I wasn't old enough, I was in these bands and I wasn't old enough to drive. And we'd put all our gear in my dad's truck. And he would drive us to frat parties and clubs and then be waiting for us after the gig. So I've been doing it for a long time. And it's been, I first started off doing Buddy Holly. And then the longer I was in the show, one night, I always loved the Beatles. One night, the guy that did John Lennon got food poisoning. And the show has to go on.
Yeah.
So I put on a wig and put on some glasses and went out and did John Lennon in a pinch.
Yeah.
And people go, well, what Beatle does he look like? I said, well, he doesn't look like, he looks like Mick Jagger. And that's how that started.
Oh,
so I started
no
working
kidding.
on that. But it was
Yeah.
totally by accident. And then when Eddie and I were talking about it, because we're the same age, my first memory, the first time I ever had the thought of, I want to be an entertainer, was watching the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show.
So. That was me too.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think that was such a part of kids who wanted to do that. Watch that and said,
So many
I wanna do that.
musicians, you know, from David Crosby to Bruce Springsteen to all these different people have a story about, hey, I was watching the Ed Sullivan Show and I said, I want to do that. And the next day, their folks go out and get them a guitar or whatever. And I wanted to be a Beatle, and I never dreamed, in my wildest dreams, that it would wind up being Ed Sullivan. And now I tour. I just got back
Now
from...
tell me, how because you do that so good, how did that come about? I mean, because that's not an easy...
Well, I work for a group called the Fab Four, and they travel the country. And
They're awesome, by the
I
way.
was a fan before I even met them.
Yeah, they're
And I knew the fella that did Ed Sullivan for them. His name was Jerry Hoban.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the movie Pulp Fiction, where
Yeah.
John Travolta takes the boss's wife to the club where everybody in the club is an impersonator. There's Ricky Nelson is singing and Marilyn Monroe is a waitress. Well, Ed Sullivan, Jerry, was the maitre d'.
Oh, no.
And he and I were friends. We'd get together in Atlantic City, and he brought his cast over to our show to see Legends, and we went to see he was in a show called Really Big Shoe. And so one day I'm playing in Jackpot, Nevada, the middle of nowhere
Yeah.
in Nevada.
Been
Oh,
there.
it's like having a
Cactus
gig.
Pete's.
Cactus Pete's.
Been there.
Like having a gig on the moon, right?
Right.
And I get this phone call, and it's Jerry, and he says, "Hey kid, I need you to sub for me at the Las Vegas Hilton." I said, "Doing what?"
Yeah.
He said, "Ed Sullivan." I said, "Oh no, I could never do that."
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no. So I broke the cardinal rule of show business. You know, they always say when you go to an audition, "Can you ride a horse?" "Oh, sure."
Yeah.
You always say yes to what. "Can you juggle?"
Anything.
"Oh, I can juggle."
Yeah.
Sure. And then you say yes and learn how to
Then
do
go
it
learn
later.
how to do it.
So, like doing Elwood,
Yeah,
like
really?
doing Elwood and the Blues Brothers. There
Yeah.
was somebody couldn't make it, and I just
I can do it.
stepped in. I remember going to Goodwill and getting a black suit.
I went. We were at a booking agent, and we were trying to get jobs. You know how that story is.
Yeah.
And he's asking us questions, and I'm going. He said, "Do you have PA?" Yeah, we got PA. We got lights. And Mark Miller's like kicking me under the table, and I'm going, "Yeah, we got." And we get out. He goes, "What the hell were you?" I said, "We'll find a way to get it. Right? You just tell them you can do it." And like the story with Roger Byers. Yep, I can do it, sir. Put me in. Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing.
I ended
Neither did
there's a story, I was about 18 or 19 before I was working at Disneyland, and I get a call from an agent. He's out in the valley. There used to be a club called LGT Vegas. Let's go to Las Vegas. And he calls me up. He says, "You got a 4-piece band?" I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Do you have matching matching uniforms?
Yeah.
I said, yes, sir. Lie.
Yeah.
Figured I'll get them, right?
Right.
He
That's
says,
not a lie. That's
he
right.
says, do you know that song, The Letter? I said, how does it go? He says, give me a ticket for an airplane. I go, oh, yeah, we do that song.
Yeah.
Figure we could learn it, right? He says, okay, you're playing Friday night out at an LGT Vegas, and the name of your group is the Box Tops.
Really?
And he says, doesn't matter what you play, just end every show
With the letter.
with the letter, and you're the Box Tops. So when the Box Tops were here,
Yeah.
or
Oh, really? Yeah.
and, or we worked with them on the ship. I told them that story, and they got a
Funny.
big kick out of that.
Yeah.
And you
Wait,
just had Jeffrey Allen Ross and Bill Sinkay here.
Yeah. How awesome was Jeffrey? He's awesome.
Just terrific.
Yeah, and he goes out. I guess he was singing with. But the cool thing for me is he had no idea what a big fan of Badfinger I am. I was a big,
Oh, yeah.
and I kind of know a little bit of the story about that. So when he said, "Well, I was singing lead for him," and I just said, "Yeah, man, well, let's do it." So that's one of the cool things. Also, I know Roger's sitting out there, but they get that we have the freedom here to do all kinds of crazy things. And when people come here, it's really cool that we intermix, if you will. A lot of guys do that. Some guys don't. Some guys stay on their bus. But a lot of guys come out and play, and we ship back and forth. So it was awesome.
Oh, it's beautiful. And Jeff is the music director. He's in a group called the Hall of Fame, and they play for a lot of groups. And he is on Sirius Radio with a man named Peter Asher.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's like Peter. He's like young Edward here.
Yeah.
He's,
Pain in the ass?
No. He's
handsome, good-looking, with a voice of authority.
he's sort of his musical sidekick and engineers his Sirius Radio show
Yeah.
that he does on the Beatles channel. And Jeff, just really super interesting, very talented
we
guy.
talked all day back there.
Oh,
We
yeah,
talked
just
to him.
great.
He was awesome.
So if you're watching, Jeff,
Yeah,
Bill,
yeah.
Rob,
Yeah, he sent
Love
me
you
a really
guys.
nice text about everybody here, and he was just awesome. You're the only guy that picked up on this, but our bass player, Keith Horn, plays a very weird, I don't even know how to say this. So I guess the best way for the people to understand is a regular guitar, like I would play, like anybody else would
Yeah.
play, you would play. So if you take that guitar and shift it over left-handed and don't retune it, now it's upside down and backwards.
Right.
Right. So your high strings are on the top. So really, not many people. Dan Seals played like that, but not many real pickers. Like I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. None of it. But it's a little easier.
It's
to play rhythm.
unconventional.
Yeah. Well, our bass player is an awesome guitar player too. And then one of those dudes,
Bill Sinkay
Bill
plays
shows
that
up and plays the same way.
Yeah.
So those guys were at it all day. Oh my God, another weirdo because they played, but not just play like that. Boy, those boys can play.
Do you remember a fella? Sadly he's passed. A fella named Jeff Healy.
I played with Jeff.
He was
Healy.
blind, and he
Yeah.
would play the guitar. Great guitar player.
I'm a
Sound like
huge
Jimi
Jeff Healy
Hendrix,
fan.
right? But being blind, he didn't
Yeah.
know how a guitar was played. He played it on his lap.
Yeah.
And
He,
he
hammered
hammered the strings.
Some of y'all will remember Jeff from he was in the movie Roadhouse.
Yes.
But he was on Capitol Records, and I was on Capitol Records. So we did a tour. What was that guy's name? Ron Sakamoto. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, we did some dates with him, and the dude was just like crazy good. I got a couple of his CDs. He was crazy good. Weird thing about him, he was in Roadhouse and with Patrick Swayze. They both passed away within a year of one another both had pancreatic cancer. Isn't that weird? Awesome. Anyway, yeah, he was awesome. So you're coming here. Tim's coming?
Tim will be here. We've got a date. We're doing the show here at the Opry. Saturday, May 25th. Get your tickets. It's a 7 p.m. show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Music, comedy, variety, and you never know. There's always a few surprises.
Yeah.
And we always have a great time.
Last time you were here, I can't remember what it was, because I got to tell you, I would borrowed, be a good word, borrowed a few of your punchlines, a few of your jokes, but George, so you got your standard jokes that are all pretty funny, but boy, I can't remember what it was, but he had some one-line zinger last time you were here, and he just looked over at me and winked. But I was gut laughing, and I don't gut laugh very often.
can
but
use-
you make me gut laugh.
You know
a
what's
lot.
funny is I was thinking about this in you kind of reflect on your life on your birthday, and you look back. And I'm writing a book. I was talking to Roger
Oh, yeah.
before the show. I had a very dear friend of mine who also passed from cancer, and I would text him just these little stories. And you don't want to be, when people are going through chemotherapy, you don't want to, how are you doing? And you don't want that. So I would just write him a funny story about the time I met Jackie Vernon in Las
Yeah.
Vegas. Jackie Vernon was a comedian who worked Vegas and opened for Sinatra or whatever, but people know him today as the voice of Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah.
So that was like his biggest deal. And I would just write him stories about all the crazy stuff that happens on the road. And his response was always, dude, you got to write a
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
So I'm in the process of writing a book. And Bill Sinkay wrote a book. And there's been some great books out there. So I would like to do a book about my life, starting on the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland.
Yeah.
And going all through those years in Vegas, and how I took the path to do all
Yeah.
these other impersonations, Hank Williams and the Elwood Blues and Mick Jagger and Ed Sullivan, how that all
Yeah.
came about, and people I always say people come up to me after the show and they say, boy, you really look like Ed Sullivan. And I want to go back to the hotel and hang myself, you know what I mean? But
Well, I have thought about that. I think I have ADD, too bad, but I have. So when I was a kid, you were talking about your people. My people were country people. So when I watched Buck Owens and I saw Don Rich up there playing this Telecaster guitar, I wanted a Telecaster. So when I was in 12th grade, I think I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I made $1.17 an hour, and the reason I can remember that is because when I got drafted and went in the Army, I made $117 a month for my pay as a private. So that was easy to remember that number. But I bought that guitar, and I thought about writing a book about that guitar because I still have the same guitar.
Yep.
And like you, all the places that guitar had taken me and different turns and twists that I've been, because I'm over here and I'm over there, all behind that same guitar.
I always say to people, I never started out to be an impersonator. That's just the
Yeah.
way it worked out. That's just what happened. And that road has taken me all across the country. And we did a tour in Russia with Paul Revere. His
Yeah.
wife did Marilyn Monroe, and he brought a suitcase full of food. And I've just had all of these great adventures. And many people have said, you need to write a book.
Oh, yeah, you probably
And
do.
my grandmother was a showgirl in the 20s, in 1925.
Yeah.
Her career was 1925 to about 1931, my dad's mother. And she lived in DeLand, and that was part of the reason why we moved there. And she had a relatively short career. And I knew her. She looked like Mrs. Santa Claus, a little
Yeah.
old gal with white hair. But boy, you should see some of these pictures of her in the 20s. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And she always said to me, and this rings true, no matter what generation you speak to, when times are tough, and she entertained during the Depression, when times are tough, that's when people need entertainment the
Oh,
most.
yeah,
And I
of
think it
course.
holds true today. When they come walking through the doors, leave the real world on the
Yeah.
other side of those theater doors, and you come in here, and I think that's really what we do. We help people forget about the troubles of the world, forget about the bills, forget
Yeah.
about the problems, and when you come into the Opry on May 25th, 7 p.m. show, get those tickets
For
now.
one show.
When you're sitting in these seats and we're doing the show, I always am amazed at how fast it goes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's just like we start the show, and next thing you know, we're driving back to DeLand.
Well, that's part of our job is all these folks, they come here is it's good to look at them and see smiles on their faces and see them forgetting about whatever may be bothering them, even if it's for a couple of hours. That's the reward of doing what you do. What I want to talk to you about for a second is the line of work you're in and me. I've never done anything else. I never did. I knew when I was a guy in high school, I was going to play music, and I didn't know whether I was going to live in my car or, we all want to live in this big mansion, but, you could end up living in your car. It's a decision, being an entertainer, It's not like any other business. You can go to school to be a doctor and you'll be a doctor. You can go to school. It's not on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube. And they,
No worries. No worries.
Anyway, so
Bobby Randall. Yeah, when I was in Nashville, I worked with this fella. He gave me a guitar, and now it's worth $25,000. I still have it somewhere. It's buried in the back.
that pink guitar,
Yeah.
I hadn't played that pink guitar that I played. A guy did make that for me in Sawyer Brown. He doesn't build guitars anymore. So those guitars are kind of collector's items. He built guitars for Ricky Skaggs, a bunch of people. And I never played it. When I left the band, I said, you know what? I ain't never playing it. I dug that guitar out and strung it all up and played it with Sawyer Brown. Both
Man,
songs.
oh
Pretty
man.
cool.
Hey, I'll tell you a story. Roger's in the funeral business, right? And had somebody come up to me. All my friends, you're on Facebook. The thing I like best about Facebook is it tells me when people's birthdays are or when their anniversaries are or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. And then advertising the shows. And somebody said to me the other day, they said, George, when are you going to retire? And I said, when the day comes and the good Lord takes me home and all my friends are gathered around and they're looking down in that box, they're going to say, God damn, he looked pretty good at the show last night.
I'm going to steal that.
All right, so one quick note here that for the audience here that no one online will get it. So George, everyone knows that I'm a huge REO Speedwagon fan. I've seen him 44 times. Remember, we talked about that before. So George is out on the road. I'm not sure where this was. Where was it at, George? Somewhere. He's out on the road, and he sends me a message saying, listen, REO Speedwagon played here last night, and I have this was on their dressing room door. So he brought it for me. This was their itinerary.
I have something for you to give the guys in the band.
Oh, you got a little bit of a outline?
Oh, yeah. I haven't decided on the order, and because of the costume changes, we might need you to do a couple of band members between costume changes.
Well, Captain Gert, we can take over the podcast.
I'll have the final order. I think these are the.
Those of you that are still watching live, we will see you next Tuesday. We had the power go out. Bobby got scared and left.
He went as me to a Halloween show.
So we'll see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.
Hey, let's get a picture of the three of us.
You're gaining viewers on YouTube with just the Apostle Paul talking. That shows that I'm giving words of wisdom. Those of you that don't know, because we don't have cameras on, Roger just gave me this look. Okay, well. I don't see what I look like. Okay. We lost power, folks, because it is storming outside. It's raining really bad. We're under a tornado watch, actually. And we were risking our life to bring the show to you. That's right. That's how much we love you, our fans of the Orange Blossom Opry. We're signing off. We're done. Kurt, kill the button. We're done. We're going home. Bye, folks. We'll see you Tuesday. We're taking it home.